Alright, well, welcome back, everybody. We're on to the sixth analysis of the Don't Park Top 8, which is Joshman versus SDJ, losers Eigths. So after this set, Joshman went on to beat Hungrybox. He won 3-1 here, and then he immediately went on to 3-1 Hungrybox. And I think that, somebody beating Hungrybox is pretty big, especially since Joshman usually doesn't win against Hungrybox. I'm not sure exactly what the record is, but I think it's probably a good idea to take a look at the different styles of SDJ and Hungrybox and see maybe what SDJ could be doing a little better or what he does better or worse than Hungrybox and compare it with the next set, which I'll be going over in a couple days. And so I can hop right into this. So Joshman wins 3-1, and the first game he wins with 2 stocks. Then SDJ wins on his counter pick, Dreamland with 2 stocks. Then Joshman wins a really close game on FD where he had a big lead and SDJ brings it back. And then game 4 on FOD, Joshman just kind of like tears him apart and gets like a quick 3 stock to end the set. And so, general review of this set, I feel like Joshman is really, really good at CC options. He's good at holding down when he's vulnerable. He's really good at finding these kind of extended mix-ups on Jigglypuff, like where he'll get like some sort of small hit, and then rather than resetting neutral, he'll immediately go for sort of an extender on some kind of next mix-up, and it can potentially get him these like stocks where he almost zero deaths Puff off of these like 5-second 3 mix-up quick sequences, and so those are really cool to see. And I think there's a couple issues with how he plays the matchup where he can overcommit sometimes. It feels like he's really, really good against Jigglypuff in the air, like when she's full hopping using the platforms, and I think obviously that's like the most common way for Jigglypuff to play. But it feels like as soon as SDJ is on the ground a little bit more, using a little bit more wave dash and stuff like that, that he starts finding more openings, and he's able to get most of his stuff off of being low to the ground, and Josh making some kind of error based on that. I think SDJ is really good at using back air and forward air to kind of box with Fox. Like, he manages to like fight out a lot of situations really well where a lot of Puffs would struggle. So SDJ is really good at fighting using the forward airs and the back airs, but I think he has a little bit of an issue. It doesn't seem like he's quite as good at setting up for the up airs as Hungrybox, and honestly just kind of setting up for really good kills in general. It feels like he's good at the rest setups. He has, in particular, like the raw grab, like wave dash out of the way, get a clean grab, get an up throw rest. He's really good at those, and he's good at sort of going for a bunch of back airs and forward airs and then doing a grab out of that when you least expect it. But I think it would have been really good for him in general to reset a lot of the positions that come up. I think he's a little bit too willing to take a position where maybe he gets a back air and then maybe he gets hit by the opponent. And I think when you're playing somebody like Josh, who is going to like find these consecutive quick mix-ups off of that one like nair or something he gets if he wins the back air nair battle, then like it gets a little dangerous. Like, it feels like he's not necessarily playing for like high enough payoffs. And it's interesting, there's a spot in game 2 where on FD where SDJ gets it might be game 3. It's game 3 on FD. He gets quite a bit behind, and he ends up making this huge comeback, but it's not like a rest comeback. He just gets put in the spot where Jigglypuff basically only has the forward and back airs left, because if you do the rest there, then you're just going to get, like, he has 1 stock left, and Josh will just come back and rest punish him. So he's forced into that spot where he doesn't really have access to rest, and I feel like he kind of thrives in that zone of, like, it taking quite a few back airs and forward airs to actually kill Fox. I feel like that's sort of, like, his strong suit. And I feel like the setups and stuff like that are not quite as good as they could have been, and I think that definitely cost him during this set. And it's interesting watching Josh's neutral, because I feel like sometimes he has this perfect, beautiful neutral against Puff, and then sometimes he just kind of sends it in this weird way where it's like very overcommittal. And usually when Puff is low to the ground, so we'll take a look at that. I think that My biggest complaint about the way Josh plays this set is I think he could use a lot more shield. Fox's shield is really, really good versus Puff. Both Wave Dash out of shield and Shine out of shield are just have like a crazy amount of utility. And your Wave Dash out of shield is basically as fast as Puff's Drift. So you don't actually lose that much in terms of like Dash Dance versus Wave Dash out of shield compared to like what you might lose against some other characters who are like a lot faster on the ground. So I think there's sections of the set where Josh does a really good job using the shield and Wave Dash out, and then there's other parts of the set where it feels like he completely forgets that shield exists. So let's take a look at game one. And we'll move through. So game one is on Battlefield. Joshman wins this one with 2 stocks. There's 2 up throw rests this game, and I feel like the 2 games where SDJ does... Well, he gets 2 rests on both the games, but Joshman brings it back on the Dreamland game quite a bit. It's interesting. It feels like he gets the rests, but that's not... It's not a huge game changer in these matches. It feels like it comes down a lot more. Like, it's like, maybe he gets a rest, but then maybe there's a stock where Josh gets this crazy fast kill, and it kind of evens out. And it seems like it comes down a lot more to, like, sort of, like, these, like, longer stocks and, like, interactions and stuff like that. So, it's kind of interesting. So, I like starting out, getting a couple lasers. I think Josh's spacing here is really solid. Gets the lasers. This is kind of like a feeler moment. I think you'll see this a lot during the session where SDJ will hit some kind of aerial on Joshman, and he just immediately, like, oh, CC, dash in, murdered. And obviously he can't get a kill here, but this is such a significant opening to have of just like, okay, I traded... A lot of times it feels like Puff does this thing where she gets like a low % aerial, and maybe she'll get like 12 damage, and then on the other end of it, you hit her back and you get 12 damage, and it feels like it's favoring her. And so I think Josh being able to like trade this one quick hit for like a bunch of % and get to almost kill % is really good. This is an unfortunate SD here. This actually happened recently in some other set I saw. I can't remember which one. Some Hungrybox set, I think. But it's always nice on the Fox end when this happens, because it's so rare that you're just like, oh, okay, nice. I'll take that. SDs always hurt more also when you play a character that doesn't SD much. Like when you're Fox here, you miss the ledge dash. You're like, well, that happens to me all the time. It's not a big deal. Peach or Puff die right here off of a missed air dodge, and it can feel very bad. So I think when Josh is in the zone and he's doing really good like spacing and stuff like that, the spacing is always solid. Like this fade back up air, the dash dance drill, this was really well executed, and he doesn't overcommit at any point. But there are points that you'll see going later in the set, he does start to overcommit quite a bit, and it comes back to bite him a bunch of times. And honestly, I think, like, based on generally watching this set and seeing, like, the flow of the set, it feels like this set should have been a lot more Joshman favored, but he gave up quite a few sort of unforced errors where he overcommits in spots where there's not a huge payoff for doing so, and I think SDJ does a pretty good job of handling the overcommitments and punishing Josh for it, but it doesn't, and he does get some good stocks, but it doesn't feel like SDJ is plotting hard enough to catch Fox in like insta-kill spots to really get his own opening. It feels like he'll just kind of hit twice with a back air, maybe he gets a grab off of an overcommitment, and then if he doesn't get that grab off of the overcommitment after 2 back airs, he ends up kind of just jumping around and throwing out a lot of back airs until he maybe hits you off stage and gets some sort of edge guard. Versus like what Hungrybox does, where Hungrybox is a lot more willing to use this inner edge of the platform to move around, to feel kind of like unhittable, and he looks for spots where he gets a much higher payoff than the Fox for winning the interaction. And I think SDJ could do that a lot more. It feels like there's so often where he's just down to to back air it out in spots where the risk reward I don't think is Puff favored. Joshman gets a little greedy right here. Yeah, so this is an interesting spot. So I think this is an interesting grounded interaction. This happens quite a bit. I think Josh he's really good at going for grabs on the ground out of stuff, or like Puff just barely landing. But I think he can. This is just a spot where it feels like, okay, if I get my grab, maybe I kill Puff. Maybe she SDIs out of the up air. If Puff gets a grab here, you're pretty dead. And like the rest punish off of this percent is not 100% consistent. There's a little bit of a lesson to learn later in the set where I feel like going in against Puff in a spot where maybe if you win the situation, you win. But if she wins the situation, you get rested. It's not too bad because it feels like if I win, you die, and if you win, we both die. But this feels like a spot where if you win the interaction as Fox, maybe you get a kill. I don't think the up throw up air is like 100% consistent there, and it's kind of, yeah, like you don't have a guaranteed up smash here on the rest punish, so it just feels like a little bit overly risky at that percent to go for it. It was kind of like right at the border of where it'd be good, but I think if you're going to be going for a situation against Puff where you might get a kill, but she might get a rest, you want to make sure to set it up in a spot where the rest punish will be a guaranteed kill, and you for sure get the stock trade. Because getting a spot like this, it just ends up very not worth it. Where, like, if Fox gets the grab here, maybe he gets the kill. Puff gets the grab here, she does get the kill, and then you also don't have a guaranteed rest punish kill right here, which is not good. And that comes up a few times to the rest of the set. I think these are really good. I think Josh does these really well. This is like one of the things that I think will become really common in the future. Fox is CCing the back air and immediately doing like a dash JC grab. He misses the dash here, but he would have for sure been able to get this grab. And I think it sort of turns this style of Puff into... I think it makes this style of Puff a lot worse. It basically turns her into like kind of like a mid-low tier if you're doing a really good job CCing the back airs. Because she's really hoping to get these out of you jumping or to just kind of like hit you a few times and kind of like build up a little bit of damage. And if every single back air that hits you is a potential grab or something like that, it changes the risk reward where like the back air is already not great reward anyway. But the risk was typically pretty low. So it's like you're playing this low risk, low reward style. But with Fox using the CC really well, it turns into way more of a low reward, high risk situation, and it just kind of flips the situation a lot more in Fox's favor. So I think as we see the Fox players get a lot better at hitting the CC grabs and stuff like that, I think or the CC dash grab, I think the Puffs will need to adapt and use back air, like especially like these types of back airs, a lot less. Where he's just sort of like land and you drift away a little bit. I think like these falling, like any back air you basically have to L cancel, I think will get somewhat invalidated by the Foxes getting really good at this. So I think that's like a future development that will be not very good for Puff. Right now, almost nobody's doing it consistently. We all kind of know about it, but it hasn't become something that's like fully standardized. I think even Josh, who I think has been good at it for a while, only recently has started making like a big deal about it in all of his matchups, that he's really trying to do it's so easy to just CC there and then go for a shine, and if you miss the shine, you're like, whatever, because it feels safe, but the grab is just way higher payoff. And Josh has been using it a lot against Sheik, like against like Jmook, and I think he did beat Jmook this tournament, so it's clearly paying off, and it works really, really well against Puff, too. Yo, what's up, Josh? If you want, you could join in the analysis. Otherwise, it's fine to just watch. And yeah, so this is something that I noticed. This is basically Josh's main weakness, is grounded Puff tends to make him throw some things out. Like, I think versus the aerial Puff, he plays he plays very reactive in a good way. And versus the grounded Puff, he tends to throw out a lot more reads in spots where I feel like are overcommitments. Like, versus aerial Puff, he's doing this super solid, like, okay, up air, ASDI down, maybe get a grab, maybe get a kill. And now Puff is kind of just chilling here, just not really doing much on the ground. And you end up giving her, like, this freebie that she didn't really need to get here. But at the very least, you know, if you're going to go for something where there's like a chance you kill Puff and a chance she kills you, at the very least, you want to be in a spot where you have a guaranteed rest punish kill when you come back. That is huge. I think the percent being just a little bit higher that you don't have to go through an up throw up air here makes all the difference. Because even, like, obviously I don't think that this was in Josh's favor to go for this up smash. It basically ends up as an even decision in the worst case. So I think taking gambles in spots like that is, at the very least, not awful, or is not as bad as it could be. I think if you're going to risk it at some point, that is the moment to do it. I think there's probably some safer options you could have done. I think, like, for instance, like right here, I think there's definitely spots where Josh can push in with the shield. Like, you can push in, shield this, and then have like a wave dash out mix-up that can provide a little bit more pressure against Puff in neutral rather than just the raw dash dance. I don't think there's anything wrong with the raw dash dance here, but it's interesting because I feel like there are points in this set where Josh lines up and he's like, oh yeah, that's right, shield's broken. And he just starts using shield really well, and it makes the neutral so much easier, and then the other parts of the set, he's kind of just forgets about it. And he does this a few times during the set. He does these low percent nairs, and he goes for the weak nair in order to get the Sakurai angle. And the Sakurai angle, and he tries to combo it into grab. And I think that's actually, it's pretty good. I think doing it at 0, where the up throw rest doesn't immediately kill you, is at least a decent idea, because if Puff does literally crouch cancel this, like if she actually crouches the nair, she will get still have the ability to punish a lot of times. But if she just gets the ASDI down on the nair, she usually can't punish. And it's not a bad option at low percent, especially if you want something to pressure Puff at low percent. I personally think just usually getting a couple lasers and like running in and getting like a quick back air or something like that would be good. But I think this is fine too. This is where Josh is. I would say this is his strongest point in the matchup, is fade back nair. He's so good at seeing these nairs and figuring out which way the Puff is going to be drifting afterward and getting a grab there. He gets this almost every single nair that SDJ tries to throw out. Great up air pressure there. I think this was a tough to avoid pound. It was basically just a really good mix-up by SDJ. Not too much of Joshman's fault there. I think SDJ, there's just so many spots where I think, like, if I'm here as SDJ, I would never be going down with these fairs. I feel like he is so down. It feels like he gets dragged in to the current position a lot harder than Hungrybox does. It feels like you put him in a spot and he thinks really hard about how to win that position. But he's not fully thinking about like the ramifications of what winning that position will do and what losing that position will do. Like, if Josh somehow like grabs him here, he could just die. And if he hits with it, it's just kind of a quick fair into a reset. Like, Puff doesn't really want or need this damage. I kind of have a thing where I say that over 80, maybe a little bit more over 80, but like between 80 and 90, basically Fox and Falco become pseudo-immortal against Puff because her up air doesn't combo anymore, and they can just hold down against all of her aerials and kind of just be okay. Like, if Josh holds down here, and he's done a great job, he does a great job during this set of holding down anytime he's vulnerable, this just does nothing. So I think SDJ could do a lot better at just recognizing positions. Like, I think this position, is clearly negative for Puff. Like, he gets a positive spot, gets reversal. This is a negative position. Just chill out, find a way down, like, you want an up air here. Like, you really want an up air rest without taking too much more damage, because Fox can't kill Puff at this percent out of a rest punish. He can if he gets like a really clean rest punish, but he can't get the instant just drop down up smash. Whereas 37, beautiful position for the up air. I think, honestly, SDJ's one of his biggest weaknesses during this set is that he doesn't use up air enough. And he throws it out in a couple spots, but you can tell when he does it, his heart's not in it. He's just kind of like, I feel like this up air is a good spot. He's not setting up for up airs, and he's not trying to bait Joshman into full hopping to get an up air. And I think he gets too focused a little bit during the set on like fighting out these positions, forward air, back air, like okay, you get back air here, but is that really, like, if you're playing this matchup as back air, you just have to big outplay your opponent to win. This is gonna take so many openings, whereas Josh is playing a lot more clean, where he's looking, okay, CC, dash out, look for like something that will lead right here directly into a kill. And SDJ does a good job of getting out of this. I think he gets out of... Joshman gets 1 out of 3 up air kills this game, and none in game 2, 1 out of 4. Yeah, he does a pretty good job of actually escaping out of the up throw up air, even though I think Josh, it seems like, adapts. SDJ pretty much just SDIs up. He gets a lot of tap jump out of it when Josh misses. It feels like Josh kind of adapts to that and starts sending the up airs a little bit higher as the set progresses. But I feel like SDJ, I felt this repeatedly while watching, that SDJ should definitely just disengage more. I feel like he just sees the position, and he's like, oh, I can hit him there with a fair, without really thinking of like, okay, there's a risk here that doesn't need to be here for a payoff that I also don't need. Like, there's just so many spots where the payoff of the fair is not getting him something that's really, really worthwhile, but he's playing it out anyway. And I feel like he never really goes for these big reward plays, except for like back air, look for a quick up throw. And so I think he's sort of leaving some stuff on the table by not looking for like empty land grab, empty land full hop up air. I just don't see any of these types of reads coming out of him, and it feels so much more like he just wants to like space back air really well. And like spacing back air really, really well over and over, you can win sometimes. And it feels like the games where he does win are games where he spaces back air and forward air really well over and over. And then while the opponent is trying to deal with this constant back air, forward air dynamic, he eventually gets a grab and gets an up throw rest. And then the next stock comes and he's going to hit you again, but maybe you give him the free up throw rest again. And it never really feels like he's really trying to like trap you into these super high value openings in a way that Hungrybox's entire style is focused on. And so it strikes me as kind of strange, because I feel like it's a bit of an ineffective way to play Puff overall. And he does it well because he's playing to his strengths of the spacing with the back airs, but it just makes Puff into a character that's not super high payoff. And it feels like it makes... I like the shield here. Like, the shield's good. Way dash out of shield. It's so good. Just shield, way dash out of shield is broken against Puff. She doesn't have any way to really punish it, and it can potentially just put her out of... Like, if she tries to hit you, she gets punished really easily, and if she doesn't try to hit you, a lot of times you can just escape for free. If she full hops, you can move in underneath her. It's sort of like Fox gets to protect his position, even when he's too close to dodge the aerials. And it's just like, man, like, what is SDJ setting up here? Is he like really looking to set up an edge guard? It doesn't feel like it. It feels like he's really just like another back air. Okay, another, like, everything is just one more back air. And to be fair, once you make the mistake of Fox getting above 80 or 90, the game can tend to devolve into Puff just needing to land a couple back airs more, get Fox off stage, and reset. But I think his plan doesn't seem to have changed since he... Like, he had the range to go for the big up air setups, and he doesn't use it. And then like at high percent, he's good at it because it's just the forward air back air stuff. But it doesn't feel like, even like this, it feels like he's so willing to like fight out. Like, okay, like right here, it looks like he tries to dash attack here, thinking Josh would dash back. Why do you need to do any of that? I think like just moving around and looking for the opening you actually want is a lot better than taking what Josh just gives you there. And this is one of the best combos of the top 8 that I've seen. 20% Nair. Like, I feel like right here, the options usually would be you get an up air, you jump up, get some lasers, you get one more opening. You jump up, get the back air, get some lasers, get one more opening. Or you're a crazy person and you do jump up and you drill Puff down, and then maybe you get like a back air or something like that. And I think Josh did a really good job here of hitting this. And I like that this basically looks like it beats Survival DI. Like if Puff is trying to DI in here, it's like, okay, boom, get you to the platform. And then as soon as SDJ is on the platform here, the drill grab, it makes the most sense. But I think this setup into the drill grab was so good. And it's like, it feels like Josh the entire time is looking for these really high value openings. He's looking to like get this big mix and win. And SDJ the entire game was just kind of back airing a bunch with the occasional up throw rest. And I think like back air a bunch with occasional up throw rest is like an excellent first half of Jigglypuff to be playing. But I think like disengaging, looking for the up airs, looking for like even like back throw in the corner or corner pressure where you're mixing, like for example, Hungrybox gets so many of those spots. I think we saw it in the Moki set where he puts Moki into the corner using just his movement and one hit, and then immediately reads Moki rolling out of the corner with a rest. And I don't see that type of processing going on with SDJ during this set. And I think that cost him quite a bit. And he has pretty good grab. Yeah, this is that thing where Josh goes for the Sakurai angle Nair here, which I think is good. And he just misses the grab. It is kind of a tight window. Like, Puff is really close to being able to punish this, and Fox does win it, but if you're just a little bit late like that, Josh is just getting grabbed right back. And he's definitely annoyed at that. I would be. This is kind of a small thing. I think if you have time in this spot doing like short hop laser, like doing like a quick short hop laser here, even that little bit of percent can sometimes get her out of a percent where she's able to like floor hug like that. Not always easy. Like in tournament like this, not always easy, but I do think that I've noticed that there are a lot of spots where Foxes could get one or two quick lasers on Puff out of a rest punish, and they're kind of leaving it on the table. I think eventually that will get eliminated in the meta. Like, eventually the Foxes will maximize the lasers there. And, yeah, so this is something... It's like, I feel like as soon as Josh gets behind this game, he sort of starts playing a lot more risky. I think it almost feels like Josh is kind of uncomfortable camping. And I feel like this is like the big campy stage where you're supposed to just run away from Jigglypuff like the entire time. And it feels like, especially going down a little bit here, it feels like he just starts kind of gambling a lot, like doing these. And he does a few more where like the grab, and it's really easy against Puff to get thrown off and throw these out. But I think if you're the most comfortable with your slow game, like, which you should be on this stage in particular, and the match starts and you get rested, there should be a feeling like, well, the plan was to camp her really hard and 3-stock her anyway, so losing the first stock is not a huge deal. Like, it should feel like you're safe enough from camping her that it's just not a gigantic deal that you got rested. You don't need to make something happen because you were planning on a really long game anyway. So if she's big camping you back here, it's fine. You were ready for that. You'll eventually get the kill and then camp her out the consecutive stocks. I don't think that Fox needs to make any kind of like quick comeback here. I like that grab a lot. It's unfortunate it didn't work. And yeah, these are like basically the only up airs that SDJ goes for most of the time. Is like he's going for these, and like yes, if I think like maybe like a decade ago those up airs would have worked, but they're very much like maybe this up air will hit if Fox does the worst option here, which they've been hit by up air with for doing like a million times. And I think that like the up air is probably Jigglypuff's best move against Spaceys, and I think that he should be treating it like it is. It definitely feels like he's not using the up air to the extent that he could be. And even like spots like this, man, like he's just going for these walling aerials in ways that I don't understand. Like I feel like this fair, like if you hit this fair on Fox, what do you get out of it? Like at all. It just feels like he plays a lot of positions that don't lead to anything just because they're there. Like it feels like he has a feeling that Fox is maybe hittable right here, but I think Puff in particular needs to play really, really hard for like very particular openings. And so it's like, great, Fox is at a percent where up air can knock down. That's wonderful. So why aren't we going for up airs? Like, why are we going for all of these things? Whereas, like, I think he could be going up to the side plat here, doing a mix-up, coming down with up air, doing a mix-up where you're like, okay, I'm going to float down. Either I do double jump up air to catch your full hop, I do a landing mix-up with empty land grab, or versus, like, empty land full hop up air. Like, if you're going to be playing out interactions as Jigglypuff, they need to be high reward. I don't think there's basically no value to any of these. Like this, like if Josh just doesn't get grabbed here after all this, none of that percentage really helped at all, because your goal is not to kill off percent as Puff. SDJ does it a lot this set. He kills off of high percent like a lot. Like almost every stock that he doesn't just get a free up throw rest is him killing off of some like higher percent back air or something like that. And I don't think it's that good. I think he's good at it. Josh with a little bit. This is like, once again, this is that kind of like, well, I need to overcommit to come back right here, but if you miss, you're even more behind. And it's like, you can easily come back from this percent, or sorry, this deficit, because Puff can't catch you here. The stage is too big. You can camper forever. The amount of deficit you're at, or the amount of percent you've taken, is not a huge deal. Even from this spot, she just doesn't really have ways to catch Fox here. So I think this is just the big camp stage, and I think they want to get an early kill and have you desperate to come back. But if you honestly, like, look at this. This is like a minute and a half into the game. Like, if Josh legitimately played for another few minutes, like if the game went for 4 more minutes, I feel like Josh could definitely just bring this back. And I think that's important to like keep in mind, like, mentally. And so this is one of the up airs that SDJ does. Like, I think this was a good up air. I think this was one of the only ones he does that I was like, okay, that one was good. He really tried to get this up air. This up air misses, and you can just disengage. I think the pound is good because he's going for a kill here, but he doesn't do this consistently enough. It's like, okay, well, time to back air, and it's like, okay, what are those back airs doing for you? Like, it feels like he's basically doing the back airs, like I said before, he's doing the back airs to, like, play, like, real neutral, while hoping that he can eventually get a grab off of the opponent kind of overcommitting, playing around the back airs. And I think that strategy works really well until the opponent CCs and shields your back airs really well. And, like, because then it's like they don't need to struggle around the back airs and make bad decisions and get rested, because the back airs aren't providing a struggle for them to deal with. And so I think, like, moving around and actually looking, like, for instance, like right here, like if you're SDJ right here, like if you're Hungrybox in this spot, I've seen him before do stuff like wave dash in right here, full hop up air to catch Fox rising, and that's a potential rest, you know? I just think he could be going for those setups a lot more. This is an example of a spot I think Josh could definitely like run in here. Just shield. Just get right underneath Puff, shield. Like, if there's a chance of like an empty land grab. First they'd have to react to the shield, and it's not super guaranteed to get the grab there. I think it's just very safe to shield a little bit more there. Nice. Oh, yeah, it doesn't kill. I remember that. And I think, like, yeah, once you've... That's the problem with this one from the Puff end, is once you've built Fox to, like, this percent, you don't really have the setups that you want with rest. And, like, at 80, like, Josh could 100% bring this game back right now, even if SDJ wins neutral another 10 times. Like, literally, it's like, there's just not... And I do think that Josh has a little bit of tendency here, like, there's not a reason to necessarily be going for these nairs. Like, I think that he's kind of chilling. Like I said, it feels like when... I don't know. It's like it feels like he can dash dance really well, and then and he can use the shield really well, but sometimes he gets put in this mind state that like he can't just maintain the neutral. Whereas like Puff can't really make something happen if you're playing solid here. You don't actually need to like push your way in. Interestingly, though, it's kind of a good strategy against SDJ, because he's always seems willing to play with these forward airs and back airs. But I actually think if SDJ like took every position and like played it out really intelligently here, that like those running in moments, or like those moments from Joshman where where he runs in instead of continuing to play a solid neutral, I think SDJ probably could have taken this, or at least done a lot better. This game is super funny. So Joshman kills with 3 up throw up airs at like low percent. It's just every stock ends with up throw up air, 3 out of 4. And it seems like Josh, he just makes certain questionable decisions sometimes where like there's no reason to double jump down air here. You're completely safe. Like, she hits you, okay, wave dash back, shield, like go to ledge, chill for a sec, dash dance. Like, you just have all this time in the world. She can't really make anything happen that requires a movement like this. And I think he kind of goes for something again where he goes like right above her. It might not be right now. This is one thing I was talking about, where he gets these crazy like mix-up combos that are so good. I think this is definitely his biggest strength outside of the CC stuff against Puff, is that he's crazy good at putting together these stocks. Sometimes it definitely causes him to overcommit, and I think if I was a Puff player, I would take notice of that. That like if he hits me with like 1 up throw back air or something like that, that the next thing he does is almost guaranteed to try something aggressive after it. And yeah, those full hop drills on FD, these don't really make any sense. Like, you have a plan to be low to the ground. I personally think, especially like on FD when there's no platforms and stuff like this, I'm looking for a shine. I want to shine out of shield. If I can get a shine out of shield, I can get a knockdown. I can get a really good setup. Worst case, maybe I shine her in. I can get a corner pressure and kind of put her into the corner. And like, I really like pushing her into the corner with the shine, holding her in the corner with laser and back air, and getting her to a percent where something can happen. Josh is so mad about this, but I understand why. It was not a good decision. And yeah, so it feels like when SDJ is jumping, for the most part, Josh is really good at reacting to like the drift cone and moving out of the way and coming back in and punishing nairs and stuff like that. Like, I feel like that's definitely where he's at his best. And then when SDJ stays on the ground a little bit, like you saw with that rest, or you'll see it again, I'm pretty sure. Was it? No, it was the first stock? Yeah, it was the first stock. He stays low to the ground, and the low to the ground mix-ups seem to favor him quite a bit. Whereas I feel like they shouldn't really. I feel like Josh can just stay low himself and then like win the horizontal battle rather than trying to play a little bit too vertical or like towards Puff's position. He's so good at these too. Like when Puff is jumping, like the fade back grab right here, you can tell that that's his comfort zone that he's really like happy with. And then when Puff is kind of just wave dashing around on the ground, it gets a little shakier. Yeah, like these. Like, I don't... Like, I feel like this is so scary where he's, like, jumping and stuff like that. Like, the wave dashing around, it tends to cause him to throw out some kind of mix a little bit more. Yeah, right there. Where he's like, okay, well, you're on the ground, so I guess I'll just mix. Whereas when Puff is in the air, he's playing this really patient neutral. And it's like, her being on the ground, like, you can still shield. She has to wave dash, like, twice in a lot of spots to get even close enough to grab you. And you can kind of react. You can, like, pretty much just, like, react to that. Good downhold there by Josh. And I think this is really good. Boom. Cleans it up. He's definitely winning off of punish this game. Where, like, even though SDJ gets this first initial one, then it's like, okay. And he's looking for it. But I just feel like, ooh, yeah, no, gets out there. Josh just ends up hitting harder. Because if that was a kill, you know, maybe it's even now. But Josh is just taking these stocks, like, instantaneously. There's the Sakurai angle grab again. Not a bad setup at all. Yeah, like right here. I think, like, instead of jumping in here, you can just shield. Like, right here, right there. Dash back, dash in, shield. If Puff goes above your head, you get a free punish. She would need to wave dash in to grab you. Her grab range is just really tiny. And so it's like, you can actually shield on the ground a lot against Puff. Like, I think just try it out a bit. Like, if you're a Fox player, like, you can just kind of sit there shielding. She actually can't do too much. She can't do too much about it at all. As long as you wave dash out and don't full hop out. Yeah, and here we go. He's using the shield really, really well here. Like, I think this is super good. I don't think there's even a reason to jump in here. I think you can literally, like, just keep doing what he's doing. And, you know, if you feel like you're going to panic a little bit, you can just go back to ledge. And I think I understand, like, why you would go for this here as Josh. Like, I would probably do something kind of similar. And it ended up being a really good trade. But I'm just saying you don't have to do that. Like, he shouldn't feel pressured to do that. If he feels like this is a good decision, then sure. But there's no pressure to actually stop shielding. Like, as the Puff here, it does not feel like Fox is really breakable. You have to watch out for the grab. You have to watch out for the up smash. Like, he doesn't want to do a landing mix-up, basically. SDJ does not want a landing mix-up here. He wants, especially at this percent, for a back air to just hit Fox. Up air is not useful. He wants either a back air or, like, a drill grab or something like that. He doesn't actually want, like... There's not too many options that he can do, and he doesn't want to land on the ground because of the up smash and grab. So the shield just becomes even more broken than it would be. This is what I'm talking about the pseudo-immortality that the Spaceys get, because you just fair them, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm back. And nothing really changed here. It looks like Josh maybe messed up here. I think he might have tried to wave dash. Okay, playing the patient neutral. I don't think there's any... Yeah, like, there's just no reason for this to happen at all. Like, sure, maybe you won't die out of this, but make Puff make something happen. Like, you can just... Instead of this up smash, you can just run in and shield. Because, like, what can she do here? She would land there, you'd be shielding, you'd be wave dash back, more laser. It's just sort of like making Puff work for it rather than making a gamble. You can just make her work for it indefinitely there. There's no reason to actually go for the gamble. Okay, yeah, the shield. I just feel like, where was this shield? Like, it's like suddenly he's like, oh yeah, shielding. And then he kind of forgets after this too. Like, the shield's so good. One quick thing I think that people sometimes get wrong with the shield is that you shield and then you wave dash back most of the time, and then if Puff full hops, you can sometimes react with a wave dash in. So, like, right here, out of this one, this can be a wave dash in, right? So it's like here, wave dash back, great. And then right there with the full hop. And you can react to Puff full hop in time to wave dash in. I know because Falco has to do it. You can just wave dash in right under here. And then especially if you crouch, but you don't need to crouch, you could just wave dash and shield again. It's very difficult for Puff to deal with. If she doesn't throw out a move here, you can immediately hit her. It's like really, really strong. So I think the shield is really good, but he only seems to use it at like super high percents and stuff like that. Whereas like, yeah, this is a big part of the reason why I think that doing the back airs and building the percent up and stuff like that is not good, because you need to kill at a lower percent than this, because when you back air Fox at this percent, he never dies. It's just a big reset. He gets free lasers from across the screen. Small, but I think just wave dashing out of here is almost always better. Ooh. And he gets the edge guard. And it's crazy that he brings this game back from 3-1 by just like hitting him over and over. Like, it's kind of Josh just being like, just give me a little finish. I just need my one thing to finish it off. Just give up. And SDJ is like, no, I will just continue one at a time, working you slowly with these non-rest oriented things. And like, he's at a high percent. Like, this is a spot where he doesn't want to rest anymore. And this is what I was mentioning at the beginning, where like, he's in a spot where none of Josh's strengths of like getting the low percent combos and getting the stuff like that really comes into play too much. And Josh just needs to land a kill move. And SDJ he can't use rest, so it's no longer a bad decision to avoid going for rest. I still think he could be hunting for grab in the corner more, but I feel like this is like his perfect type of position to be in. The opponent just needs a quick kill, and as long as he doesn't die and keeps hitting them with the back airs, he's in good shape. But it feels like it's a losing matchup. He just has to hit him so many times. It's hard to get the edge guards. Josh could have even made it back there. Like, not that he should have, but there was a chance of him making it back there. It just, if you look at the math looks Josh favored. Like, Josh is killing early. He's focused on like, and you could just do this forever. Like, I honestly think that like when you're here and Puff is doing this, there's not a reason to make something happen immediately. You can just chill out for a long time until you find something you like. And same from the Puff end. Puff just wants her one hit here, and I think she should be kind of chilling looking for it. I think this is a spot. And it's kind of interesting. It's like last stock, they both start playing how I would prefer they played the whole time. Josh is like using the wave dash back, and he's using like single laser, and he's moving around. He still does a couple little gambles and stuff like that, but I prefer this type of play where they're both trying really hard to find their one opening, rather than like one of them, you know, like rest is on the table and Fox is kind of going for stuff that's a little risky, but maybe he'll trade. And I think playing like this way is like generally a little bit better. Like, for both sides, they should be trying to slow it down a little bit more. For Puff, because that's all she has, like, she just can't fight out these interactions, and so she needs to stall it out a little bit more. And then Fox, because he's gonna be winning over time with lasers anyway, and you just don't want to give her something that'll let her come back for free. Oh, SDJ is they, them? Oop. My bad. Alright, I'll correct that for the rest of the time. Just saw that in chat between the games. My bad. It's not even here. That's why. Look, he, him, and then it just has the Twitter tag. Alright, my B. Okay, I guess I gotta pay more attention to that in the future. I just glanced here, didn't notice it, so everybody makes mistakes. Alright. And yeah, I think this game is the game where, like, SDJ not going for the big openings really comes back to bite them. Whereas, like, yeah, I think Josh's playing this really well so far. Just moving around. And the grab is good. I think that's the one time where SDJ actually gets a good amount of like high value openings, is just grab. Like, hit one or two back airs, big read on the grab, but it feels like it should be way more setup oriented. Like, it should be a lot more like, here's my rest setup. Okay, wait. It doesn't look like how I wanted it to be. I'm going to back off a little bit. And then, like, okay, maybe here's my rest setup. No, I don't really like this one. I'm going to back off. And, like, as the Fox, that is so frustrating. When you can tell that they're just looking for a rest, and they're either a rest or a low percent edge guard, and they're just barely looking for this perfect opening. And then every time you find a way to make the situation such that they can't get that big opening, they just kind of dip. And then they're coming back in looking for, like, their new thing. I think that is the most frustrating as the Fox end. From the Fox end, finding a puff who will actually, like, scrap with you, and the only thing that they can really do is occasionally get these hard reads on the grab. It feels like it's sort of a thing where while the puff player is doing good stuff, by doing that, they're not maximizing their value. And Fox, like, even if the Fox makes some mistakes against that, like, I think if SDJ was perfectly optimizing a lot of these positions and not using the back air, and, like, taking the same read with the back air and turning it into an up air or a grab or something like that, or some kind of setup in general, then that would have helped the match go a lot more in their favor. Whereas it feels like Josh basically gets super high value off of the stuff that he does get high value off of, and then a lot of times when he did get red were times when it wasn't that bad for him outside of the up throw rests. And so it just sort of feels like Josh put all of the ingredients into the cake, but messed up a few crucial pieces of it that could have ruined it, whereas SDJ did not put all of the ingredients in. So even if you execute pieces of it really well, you're still missing a bunch of the payoff you're supposed to get from the other pieces of the character. And I think that was why this set doesn't feel particularly like, oh, it flows this way or that way. It has this very kind of distinct feel that Josh is just kind of marching forward with the set. And SDJ only really... Oh, see, there's... Yeah. SDJ only really... I gotta notice this in the future. SDJ only really, like, find... Let's see, where was I? Blanking out. Sorry about that. Yeah, that SDJ only really is in spots where it's like, okay, we're making this sort of slow, gradual comeback with the back airs and stuff like that, and, like, they have to win neutral, like, 30 times in a row, a lot of times capitalizing on these weaknesses and what Josh is doing. But it feels like if those weaknesses were there and you set up in a way that was punishing it better from the beginning, then the set wouldn't have been so rough, because it just feels like there was kind of an inevitable result of this, unless SDJ somehow finds, like, 20 crazy options, you know? Like, it's like, this just has to happen a bunch of times. And I think, you know, SDJ is good enough that they can sometimes find, like, these crazy, like, it's like, basically, if you need to clutch box to win, there will be times when you can't clutch box. And if the Fox is hitting really hard also, you don't get this kind of, like, well, they back air me and I get a chance to clutch box, and they back air me again and I get a chance to clutch box. Where it's like, if the Fox is hitting hard, you don't get that many opportunities to secret clutch box. You really want to, like, have a higher value set up for your play in general, so that when you do get your victories, like, even like this, like, I feel like this is just another example of, like, the situation is playing out. This needs to be some kind of setup, right? Like, there needs to be something here where Puff is going for a kill. And it looks like SDJ wants, like, fair grab or something, maybe. But that's kind of like a cheesy option. Like, it's not really going to work, especially if Fox is holding down. It just feels like not that high of a value, really. Meanwhile, you can tell that, like, Josh is really hunting for these, like, high value spots. He wants his damage. He's going to get a couple hits, and he's going to try to convert it to a kill. And yeah, occasionally SDJ will find the raw grab, but it always feels like it's just out of like, oh, hey, wait a minute, right there, right there. Josh overcommitted, so I get my opening and I get my grab. And if the only time you're picking those up is when they give them to you, you're not gonna have as many openings as you need to actually win the set. Like there just weren't. It just wasn't like heavy enough. They weren't like getting enough actual high value options. I know I keep saying that, but it really just does feel like that Josh has like a lot of strengths and he has a few weaknesses, and then SDJ has like a couple, like he doesn't really have a ton of big weaknesses, but the strengths are not as strong because there's so many openings that are just random back air, or like, okay, we'll fight out this interaction that like maybe, and it's like if Fox shields this or CCs or does anything here, you're not getting it. Whereas, drift down, empty land, full hop up air, or empty land grab, or just empty land look for some kind of read on an up air or a roll or anything to give a higher value option than kind of like just getting the back air. Because the back air, as we've proven, like as Josh has proven in the rest of the set, is like you hit this back air, Josh might CC this and just hit you out of it and get more of a value than you did. And even when it's like, okay, back air, non-guaranteed tech chase, but honestly out of the corner here it might actually be guaranteed, but it's like this was Josh maybe could have slid off there, difficult edge guard, and suddenly this opening that you risk so much for is just not big enough. Like it just kind of continues. I just personally think that stuff like this, like if Fox is at 68 and you are Jigglypuff, the last move you want to hit is back air. You don't want to hit back air because if you hit him with one more back air, he's getting close to 80, and Fox at 80 is unkillable. Like it's seriously so hard to kill Fox at high percent as Puff. It's miserable. It's like harder to kill Fox at high percent than it is for Marth to kill Fox at high percent. Like look at that. You land these back airs, and pretty simple story to the set of like that's just not high enough payoff. Josh, even though he's sometimes overcommitting, sometimes being a little vulnerable, everything he's doing is like that up air was designed to kill. The up smash was designed to kill. That grab was designed to kill. All of these grabs designed to kill. SDJ hits a back air, not designed to kill. Not designed. It's designed to maybe get an advantage position that maybe leads into a kill. And that just like probability wise is going to lose to someone who is going for setups and kill setups every single movement they do, even if sometimes they're a little risky, even if sometimes they make a couple overcommitments or bad choices. This is all very like optimized, whereas like look at this, that's another, you see how hard it is, how hard SDJ has to work here once like Josh is all the way back here. Remember when I was talking about this? 7%? Sure, whatever. It's like, maybe you can't get a kill here. Once you're here, like this, when you're looking at this, you need to be like, okay, I need to find a setup here. You cannot just be hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting Fox over and over and over and over and over because it's not going to do any good. And Josh just lives forever because of it and just keeps getting mileage. And like once they're at the high percent, this is what you have to do. Like SDJ does not play it wrong once Fox is at high percent, but there's nothing you can really do about it. It just puts you in this bad spot. So like, in conclusion, is that Josh finishes the set off. Great stuff to him. And SDJ puts up a decent fight and was winning neutral a lot of times. There were a lot of really good spacings by SDJ. They hit like some pretty good grab reads and stuff like that. But the overall game plan just was weaker and was not. Is not as effective and like cutting straight to the point as Josh's was, and that made all the difference despite the mistakes that were coming out on Josh's end. And sometimes overcommitting with up smash, sometimes over-grabbing when Puff is on the ground or going for too many mix-ups when Puff is on the ground, and sometimes forgetting about shield because he's so focused on, like, I'm going to CC grab up throw, hit you twice, hit some lasers, then I'm going to come back and hit you one more time and get another grab and kill you. And when you look at the Puff end, SDJ is kind of like, all right, like, what are we working with here? Maybe a back air here. Maybe that back air puts me in a good position where I can capitalize, and then every so often I get a rest. And that's basically just guaranteed to lose. As sometimes you might get like a genius game where you manage to cover those advantage states really well, or you get some really good rests and the other player can't keep up or can't come back from the rests. But it's a good example of like how playing your character in a way that is optimized to win rather than like win the game, you know, rather than win the situations is more important. Where everything Josh did was towards winning the game, could have played some situations better. SDJ was playing situations really well, but was not actually moving forward clearly enough to actually win the game. And there we have it. That's a 3-1 by Joshman, and he goes on to beat Hungrybox after this. And so I'm very curious because I know Hungrybox is very, very setup based, and so I'm really curious if Josh is able to work Hungrybox more into this zone of, like, Hungrybox feels like he has to just do a bunch of back airs like SDJ did, you know, or if Josh starts moving around the setups better. Like, I'm very curious for the Joshman Hungrybox set, which I will be going over probably on Thursday, and really curious how it's going to differ from this one, and see what changes and see if there's anything consistent that Josh can clean up, or maybe, you know, he was playing this way specifically against SDJ. I think it'll be very cool to kind of see where that goes.